What's up, guys? We're back with the House of Folk Art with my main man, Mike. And behind us, we have a treat today because this is not going to be here much longer. Behind us is a montage of Benny Carter. Benny Carter from Madison, North Carolina. And, I mean, this is electric. I know you guys are loving this background as much as we are, but if you were here, you got to be here to really experience this. And it's something to see.
So come on down.
Come on down to Gibsonville, boys. Now I got to be 10, 15, now I got to be 25 here, now I got to be 30.
Yes.
Your turn.
Yes, on and on. It does. It looks like the Game of Thrones or something back there. It's a big set, you know, like maybe a redneck Game of Thrones. I mean, it's a beautiful setup.
I'm not a Game of Thrones. I'm not a Game of Thrones.
You don't watch Game of Thrones?
No, I do Vikings, Breaking Bad. I'm on my 8th season of Breaking Bad.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. It's changing my
Yeah,
life.
but it doesn't have any dragons, does it?
No.
They do a lot of chasing the dragon.
Chasing the dragon.
But no dragons specifically. So what are we going to talk about today? You said you had a list of questions.
So I got a list of really hard questions for you today.
Great.
Okay. Now, Mike has no idea about these questions. I typed them up this morning at like 2 a.m. And also, don't we have more cameras here today than we've ever had?
It looks like it.
I mean,
like it. There's 3 or 4. I've counted.
Are these guys getting paid for this?
No. They must be sponsored.
Bro.
Huh?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. They're sponsored by someone. I don't know. Maybe the Tik Tok people, China.
The Tik Tok?
Yeah, who knows?
I didn't even know we were on TikTok until about 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, Kyle says, oh, our TikTok's doing good.
It is kind of amazing. There's some of those little segments have like up to close to 4,000 views.
See, I don't have TikTok because I cuss my kids out because they get on TikTok. And I'm like, bro, you're wasting your life. Get off TikTok. But now I'm like, go on TikTok and watch the House of Folk Art.
Even though the Chinese own it.
It's really crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't have TikTok, so I can't see them. So Kyle has to send me the videos like old school. He texts me the videos, and then that's how I see them.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Wow, you're a technical master. You're way ahead of everybody else here.
What is the big white thing? It's just a reflector. So we have a reflector now. You know that costs money.
Yeah, you know.
He's got his boom mic. Usually we're off of these
It looks like a giant
cheap
Quaalude.
Rode mics.
Huh?
And then they got some TV thing that's like incredible. I wish it was turned this way because the background, we can't see the background. It's pissing me off.
No.
But you guys can, so here we go.
Yeah. So ask me these questions you got.
Okay. Oh, I
Got me worried.
I got a question for our crew here. Okay, here's what I want to do today, guys. I guess we're going to do the podcast part, right? But I want to go 5 minutes uncut. And no editing. We're going to give the viewers 5 minutes of if me and Mike screw up. I'm not going to cuss, but if Mike cusses, you just got to have to deal with it. So at some point, we'll give a nod and we'll just go 5 minutes, and that'll be a podcast.
No self-control.
I had a dream about that.
Yeah.
All right, so
I don't believe in self-control. How about you?
yeah, I have to because I have really damaged myself on not having self-control.
That's true.
Actually, I showed the immense amount of self-control in Food Line the other day.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, dude. I was checking out self-checkout. I had all 3 kids.
Right.
Now, one of my kids is almost taller than me, so he's, like
Jax?
no, Kai.
Kai?
Yeah. Okay. So this dude started cussing this other dude out, like right here. And this dude is getting crazy. He's like, you don't want to mess with me, man. I'm ready. So I just said, Kai, come over here. Y'all stand right here. Don't move. And I didn't say a word. I just checked out, and I walked out.
Wow.
Bro, I could have stood up on the dude and be like, listen, man, I don't know what your problem is with him, but it's with me now, bro.
Wow. I mean, that's
but I didn't. That's
I've heard of road rage, but this is like grocery store
This is Food Line rage.
Food Line rage. Wow.
The old me would have
you stepped out.
Folk art has changed me because the old me would have just straight up been like, bro, I don't know what your problem is with him, but it's now with me. Let's do this because I've been waiting on somebody like you. But folk art
changed your life.
I'm telling you, man, folk art has changed my life. It has made me a docile creature.
Wow.
Like, I don't know what it is. It's like the brush strokes, just probably Benny Carter, man.
Yeah. It could be the paint fumes. have settled you down. Who
All right.
knows?
So we went. I had this big idea. We moved, and I have a basement now. So I said, I'm gonna set an art studio up in the basement. So I move all these oil-based paint cans down there. There was a bunch of paint down there for some reason. So I set up an easel. I went to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Bought a frame.
Yeah.
Opened up one of those oil-based whites. Painted the frame.
Right.
Went upstairs that night. Entire house
Stunk of oil.
smelled like. I mean, we were getting high, bro. It was bad.
That's great.
So that lasted about 60 minutes, and then I don't paint in the basement.
It's like
no more.
it's like the bucket man who inhaled all that plastic.
Well, didn't
melted plastic
Benny paint in his basement?
in his basement? Yeah.
And he smoked cigarettes like a chain smoker.
Yep. He sure did.
So cigarettes and oil
yeah.
and oil-based paint
moonshine.
and moonshine.
Yeah.
Where'd he get his moonshine from?
I don't know, but he had all kinds of flavors. I remember in the kitchen, it was just sitting up on the kitchen. He had like persimmon, strawberry,
Ooh, persimmon.
orange. You know, try this one, Mike. Try this one, Mike. You know, but he did. He's some local guy.
Good moonshine is,
good.
you know, we're in North Carolina. Some of you guys watching this are probably in like California. I don't know about y'all's moonshine, but our moonshine is original, and it is like from the mountains of,
Yes.
I mean, we have mountains. California's got mountains, but I don't know if y'all got moonshine. Does anybody Google that real quick? Does California have moonshine?
It may, but our moonshine is the best.
Dude, so my dad got in. I already said this, but my dad got into a house in Gibsonville. The guy owned a company, and every Christmas he would have a big party, and he'd have a lot of liquor. So he had all these bottles from like the 80s.
Right.
But he had cases of moonshine, and my dad got a hold of the moonshine, and like I don't know, every weekend he'd have a bottle of moonshine out, and this stuff was like 20 years old. It was so good, and you would take 3 sips, you'd be I was like the happiest person ever.
Really.
Yeah.
It's pretty potent stuff.
And then you go, then one of my baseball guys, my baseball coach was like, hey, I make some moonshine. I was like, really? Bring me some. Dude, it tasted like gasoline. I couldn't even drink it.
Yeah, some of it's pretty
Ugh.
bad. New moonshine.
We started a fire with it.
Did you?
All right, you ready for these questions?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, here we go. Questions to ask Mike. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, Mike, have you ever been a picker?
Yeah, sort of, but not officially. I mean, I haven't done any door knocking.
No door knocking.
No, but I mean, I've hung out with pickers. You know, Benny was kind of a picker at one point.
Yeah,
in time.
I've heard that.
And
Elaborate on that a little bit.
well, I mean, we would go out and he would see something on somebody's porch. He'd slow the car down, and sometimes he'd go up, knock on the door, and ask about some pot sitting out on the porch.
Back in the day, everybody had pottery on the porch. That's just what it was.
Yeah, and you could find some amazing stuff.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I saw an Antiques Roadshow the other day where this couple found a Dave the Slave pot, an Edgefield pot, in a little local antique store.
Wow.
And they said paid $75 for it, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, well, it's worth about $10,000."
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this though, picking antique shops and picking shows, it's a lot different than knocking on doors.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to get tailed by a police officer when you leave an antique show but you leave a neighborhood after knocking on like 12 doors. We used to have a saying, me and my dad. It was, if you're not getting pulled over, you're not picking. and all that meant was.
Well, would the cops call? Would the people call and say, "Hey, somebody's coming from door to door"?
Oh yeah. So think about
Not done that. I've not done that.
Think about pre the picking show. What's that show called? American Pickers.
Yeah.
Think about before that.
Yeah.
Right? There was no. What the?
I'm sorry. That's my phone.
Is that it? Is it, folk? Now you got to read the message. If that's going to happen, you got.
This is from Marion. Got your chicken salad and scone.
What is scone?
I brought my cooler. It's some kind of a English biscuit. I brought my cooler with ice pack, so it'll be okay for a while. Going to drive by my old house and hit the co-op before lunch. This is the kind of fascinating stuff that goes on in my life. I don't know about you, but it's just jam-packed. So I can't wait. I hope we get finished early today because I love that chicken salad.
So here's the last text message I got from Jenny. It goes, Chowchi, what's going on? Dinner's ready. This is at 8:50 last night because football practice ended at 8:30, but we take things serious in Gibsonville. So it's 8:50 and I'm not home yet.
Wow.
And I got like 4 kids in the van, trying to get 4 kids in the van. So, yeah.
Is that the van you've got with the clown on the side?
Yeah, that says free candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
My
it's
kids
nice
do
to
that.
know you're out working the neighborhood.
It's actually an unmarked van, mostly because when I ride by cops, I want them to think. I don't want them to read Ledbetter Auction. I want them to see an unmarked white van. Yeah. And I usually ride around with one of those masks that looks like what's
like
that?
Scream?
The nun mask, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I have like a shotgun on my thing.
Yeah.
So it just makes them think, like, what's going on?
If I were a law enforcement officer, that would definitely make me think.
Which brings me to this. This is our next subject. Do you see that?
Yeah. You got a ring,
No.
pinky ring with a skull on
This
it?
is special. So when we developed the original Gibsonville Folk Art Mafia, this was my ring.
Ah, cool.
It's handmade. I don't know who made it. Well, the guy told me it was handmade. It's probably from, but I only wear it on special occasions.
I got you. That's
now,
great.
here's what makes this real. Don't you agree that people in the real mafia, they die? They end up dying.
And most of the time, we watched Casino the other night, and they all died in that.
Okay, 2 out of the 5. We only got 5, but 2 out of the 5 are now dead.
Right.
So we're legit, bro.
Yeah.
The Gibsonville Folk Art Mafia.
Well, I worry about just being associated with you because of all your friends.
I'm thinking.
I don't feel so good.
I'm thinking you need to take a break.
Maybe so. Or maybe you need to take a break because it's too much of you in this thing and not enough of me. You know what I mean?
Oh, whatever. All right. Next question. Do you want to go find Herbert Freeman?
Is he the guy from Hickory that made the Herbert Freeman?
Do we need to start this over?
I don't know.
Herbert Freeman is the homeless guy in Orlando.
Oh.
Do you know who he is? Granted, there's probably 1,000 folk artists that you know that I don't know.
Well, vice versa.
All right, so in a little bit, I'll go get a piece. But Herbert Freeman is somewhere in Florida.
Okay.
So I'm in communication with a guy who knows him. I don't know what he does in Florida, but he knows Herbert Freeman.
Right.
He sent me that pinpoint address of the corner that Herbert Freeman
works on. Yeah.
Sells his art on. Yeah. And so, like, you can get on Google Maps. What if on Google Maps, you know how the car rides by?
Yeah.
What if
radar thing?
Herbert Freeman was sitting there selling his art, and then you got the Google, they would blur his face out, but they wouldn't blur the art out. What if he was like holding 2 pieces of art up? Like, how cool would that be?
Is he a painter or a sculptor?
Yeah, I'll go back there and grab one, but it's wild. He does these circle. It's all free strokes, so you can tell he's not sitting there. You know, Jet started painting the other day, and he's painted like 5 images, but he's not really painting original thoughts, so he's trying too hard, and you can see his brush strokes are just like they're very intentional.
Right.
In my opinion, a true artist, their brush strokes are very unintentional. It's just the flow.
Right.
And so his brush stroke is like a bunch of circles.
Not forced.
But it is so
more than
natural. Yeah. And when you see his pieces, you're going to go, wow. Like, that's going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
You're going to be, wow. Yeah. And he's created hundreds of pieces.
Wow.
And Ron introduced me.
See, it just came out of him. I just said, wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of artist.
I hadn't even seen it.
So Ron introduced me to his art. Yeah. Ron evidently knew where he was in Florida at one point and bought a bunch of art from Herbert Freeman. And I don't know. See, I want to ask these questions. Of course, Ron's dead, so I can't. But Ron, when you saw Herbert, how many pieces of art did he have? I mean, really, like, was he sitting out there with 100 pieces of art?
I've wondered that about a lot. Like Sister Gertrude in New Orleans, she'd have a booth out in the middle of of a little pathway near the main drags, and she sat there with her nurse's uniform on, and she had paintings and drawings all just filled. Minnie Evans in Wilmington had a card table just covered in her drawings, and now you can buy a little Sister Gertrude that's 5 by 7. It'll cost you $5,000.
Yeah,
and
that's one of our records. We have one brought 25,000.
Yeah.
This lady called out of the blue. She's like, "Hey, I think I have something you can sell. I'm in Richmond. How can I get it to you?" I sent my dad up there to grab it, and it brought 25,000. It shipped overseas too. It shipped to the United Kingdom.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great. That's crazy.
But so I wanted to ask Ron, like, dude, I just never got around to it. I mean,
yeah.
And that's one thing that this art has taught me. Like, dude, if you got something on your mind you want to do, you need to do it, because the artist ain't gonna be here forever. Your confidants aren't gonna be here forever. I mean, I only drank a beer with Ab probably 5 times in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, now besides I'm talking about me walking over there spontaneously with a 6-pack saying, "Ab, what you doing? Let's go chill by the fire," because he had a little fire pit out there.
Yeah.
I only did that about 5 times,
Yeah.
And then a couple times we took him out to dinner, and then he was over for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we spent a lot of time together, but only a handful of times did I say, "You know what? Instead of going straight home after work, I'm going to go spend some time with Ab," just randomly, right?
Yeah.
And then now I'm sitting here thinking, like, dang, all the times I could have went over there every day.
Sure, you take it for granted.
And drank 3 beers, and what I could have asked him, and it just, so the moral of the story is just take advantage of the people around you, man.
That's right. The time that we've got left.
All right. So what we learned from that is we need, and probably you guys, I don't know if any of y'all know who Herbert Freeman is, but we're going to expose this because it's a great story. And who knows, somebody said, "Oh, he's not really homeless. He just sells his art on the side of the street." But I think at one time he definitely was homeless.
Probably so. I mean, if you're selling art in the median strip,
and
you probably don't live in a fancy condo.
Oh, you ready for another question?
Yeah.
Is there a piece of art that you regret not buying? I mean, you had your chance, you just didn't pull the trigger. What's the top 3?
Jeez, the top 3. Well, I had a chance in Wilmington at this show. They had a very small show of Minnie Evans stuff in the gallery down there, and the prices were pretty good. They weren't giveaway prices, but there were several pieces that I wish I had purchased, probably about 1/3 or 1/4 of what they're worth today. And they had a little museum in Wilmington that had these drawers in a big, tall cabinet that had a lot of her drawings. And I remember just going through all these drawings, and I could have picked out anything I wanted in the $300 to $400 range.
Whoa.
So, but hey, it got away. Now, there's a lot of stuff I've sold.
What year was that?
I wish I hadn't sold.
What year was that?
That was probably 91 or 92.
Oh, okay. Wow. I was 9.
Yeah, you were 9 years old, weren't you?
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. You were in some sort of juvenile detention type situation.
No. That was a little bit after that. But I was knocking on doors when I was 9.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
I mean, speaking of juvenile detention, did you ever go to the bar Plumcrazies?
Where was that?
In Greensboro,
It's in
off
Greensboro.
of Guilford College Road.
It sounds familiar. No, I did not.
Well, it was a biker bar.
Okay.
And
Well, there you go. I didn't.
It was a
I had
legit
a bike, but it was made by a company called
it was probably made
Mattel.
by. It was probably made by Sam the Dot Man.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
No.
so this was a legit biker bar.
I know where you're talking about.
Wow.
I remember driving past it
I was a bouncer there when I was 19.
and being afraid.
I didn't know what I was getting into.
Are you kidding me?
No.
You're lucky you're still here.
Me and my friend John, and so I was 5'9", 216 playing linebacker at Guilford College.
Right.
John was 6'3", 270 playing offensive line. So he's a much bigger dude than me.
Jeez.
We're going to get shoes at the mall.
Right.
And we ride past Plumcrazies, and there's a sign out that says bouncers for hire. We're like, holy shit, let's go in there, see what that's about. We walk in. The manager, as we're walking in, goes, you guys here for the bouncing job? And we're like, yeah. And she goes, you're hired. Come back Friday about 5 o'clock. Shift starts at 6. So we were like, heck yeah. We didn't even ask how much.
Yeah.
Well, it was like $10 an hour.
Yeah.
We didn't know nothing. So we show up Friday at 5.
Yeah.
Right? It's nobody in the parking lot. It's a bar, right? It stays open until 2. Yeah. She gives us the rundown.
Yeah.
She goes, 2 guys you got to worry about in here. One's name is Snake.
This Snake.
You'll recognize him because he's 6'5" and he has long black hair down to his butt.
Yeah.
Now, what you need to do is radio to Chris Lee. He was the head bouncer who had been bouncing his whole life.
Yeah.
He had a scar on his throat where he got his throat slit.
Right.
Have we already talked about this? All right.
No.
This is true. And now I'm going to tie this into folk art in a minute, okay?
Can't wait.
So Chris Lee was about 56. He bounced at the strip club right up the road.
Yeah.
Not Dockside, whatever strip club it was in Greensboro.
Right. They had a car wash. They had a strip
so
club.
at the car wash, and then there was a strip club. He bounced there full time and just worked here on the weekend.
I used to go through it, but they kept leaving nipple marks on the windshield. But that's another story.
I don't do stuff like that. So
okay.
I'm
All
good.
right. Go ahead.
So Chris had the look. He was like 6'2", 250, long biker hair.
Right.
But he had a scar right here. And one day I said, Chris, where's that from? He's like, oh, I got my throat slit in Texas when I was kicking a guy out of a bar.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So that's the kind of place we're at. So she goes, Snake, 6'5", long black hair. Then the other guy you got to worry about, his name is Bull. He's 6'5". He has long red hair down to his butt. He said these are great guys when they're by themselves, but if they ever get together, they got a feud going on right now. So if one ever shows up, you have to radio to Chris Lee to tell him. Yeah. Because if the other one shows up, we're going to have a problem. So me and John are sitting there going, what are we doing? $10 an hour. We're 19. We didn't sign up for that. We had no idea this was like this. Right. All right, so sure enough, the night gets going. Guess who walks in?
Both of them.
No.
One of them.
No. First night we worked, Snake walks in.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm the door guy. This dude is all of 6'5", so I radio in Chris, I think this is Snake. He goes, yep, that's Snake. Nicest guy you ever met. Bull never shows up, but the whole night I was like, oh my God. I should have listened. I should have listened to my dad. Yeah. And they put me at the door. The 6'3", 270, he was back in the bar. That was John. All right, the next week, guess who shows up?
Bull.
Right. And dude, Bull is more rowdier. I saw Bull turn his ring around once.
Yeah.
I had tackled a guy outside. Bull turned his ring around and popped the dude right in the mouth.
Wow. Classic.
I'm tying this all into folk art in just a little bit.
Yeah.
This is in 2001 and 2, right? So Plumcrazies was exactly what it was called. I mean, it lived that name.
Yeah.
Plumcrazy.
Lived up to its name.
So how'd we get on that?
I don't know. Did you ever get your butt kicked?
No, but I did get hit once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing about bouncing is it's like you can't beat the police.
No.
I mean, they're just gonna call another one. Well, it's the same thing with bouncers, dude. Like, yeah, one guy 1-on-1, sure, but when it's 5-on-1, the worst thing that ever happened, a fight broke out. Chris Lee went and got his gun, fired a shot off in the parking lot to stop the fight. It was so many people fighting.
Yeah.
The police came. They took his gun because you can't discharge a firearm on city limits. So you want me to go ahead and tie this in?
Damn these restrictive laws.
Do you want me to go ahead and tie this into folk
People
art?
are just trying to have a little fun, and the cops have got to come in there and spoil everything.
So people, when they call me and they get all jacked up about shipping, and they're like, the auction just ended. It's like Wednesday. They're like, the auction just ended Saturday. Where's my package? I'm like, bro, I had to deal with Snake and Bull, bro. Like, you're good. I can handle this shipping, but you got to give me more than 3 days. That's what goes through my mind, you know?
Right.
Like,
well, you should have either Snake or Bull deliver the folk art to these people. Then maybe they'll.
Well, that brings me to this point. All right, they're both dead.
Right.
But so You lived in Greensboro. How long you been in Greensboro?
Oh, jeez, good Lord. Since I was 21, 22.
Okay.
So,
Do you remember
100 years.
Do you remember the artist Otto? Otto that we sold. Otto.
No, I do not. I don't know.
All right. I gotta go get this. We're gonna pause for a second. And then we're gonna talk about Otto.
All right.
Try this.
If I say this right in the middle, is that gonna be?
Oh,
Wait, where's the good spot?
that's wild.
Okay. Yeah, dude, this is crazy.
And this is the Freeman guy?
No, this is Otto.
Otto. Oh, okay.
No, he sold his stuff in Wilmington. That's the only place he ever sold.
Is that wood?
Yeah, so that's all right. So we back on. Okay, so this is Otto.
Okay.
Now here's the deal with Otto. Now you see right here,
Yeah.
OTTO.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he signed all his wares. So this is a wood carving.
Right.
Okay, so this guy Otto lived in Greensboro,
Okay.
14 minutes from here,
Wow.
and he carved for 30 years. He carved. This is a small one.
Shows you I missed a lot.
Well, it's not. I mean, me too. I only found out about this guy. I'm gonna say, so 2.5 years ago, one of my gym members, he goes, Matt, I think there's this artist that you need to meet. I think you'll really love his stuff. And I blew it off because naturally, like,
Yeah,
a gym member, like talking about art. So anyway,
Right.
3 months later, he goes, Matt, have you?
It'd be like talking to a bouncer about art.
Well, and so, which brings me to my point. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
All right. So finally, I link up with Otto.
Yeah.
He sends me a picture. He goes, Matt, I was there the other day. I'm going to send you some pictures of what he's got. The next day, I was there.
Right.
Okay. Otto drove a Jeep off a cliff like 25 years ago.
Are you kidding me?
Well, no, I'm not.
Wow.
His feet went through the floorboard because it was rusty.
Right.
And the way he tells it is, I just figured I was going to die. So I crawled a little bit and then I just laid down and I passed out. Well, somebody riding up the same mountain saw the headlights of the Jeep.
Yeah.
And anyway, he got rescued. He woke up in the hospital.
Yeah.
They ended up taking his leg. While he was laying in the hospital bed, his uncle was an artist.
Right.
He brought him 2 or 3 pieces of wood and a knife, and he said, you're not just gonna lay here. He's like, carve something. So Otto's like, what do I carve? He's like, whatever comes to you. But this is the only thing that I think you can do in the bed.
Right.
So you got a knife
busy.
and a piece of wood.
Yeah.
So he starts whittling, and this is what it turned into. So for 25 plus years, Otto created totems. Now, this is a very small one. Some of his totems are bigger than these clocks, like 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
And he did 25 to 30 walking sticks.
Right.
Every year, the reason why we didn't know him in the folk art world
Right.
is because he went to a tattoo show once a year in Wilmington, and he sold out.
Ah.
He sold every walking stick, and he only brought 4 or 5 totems a year.
Yeah.
He sold them.
Yeah.
And then he'd go back and he'd make more.
Yeah.
And he did this for 25 plus years, right there, 14 minutes up the road, never knew about him. And what would happen is every season he would make these. He would make one. He said that they took on a life of their own. So once he started it, he did not stop until it was finished. He said some of them took so long that he didn't know how to price it. He was like, I got so many hours invested.
Oh, yeah.
And plus I like the piece. You know, this is Otto. He's like, I like the piece. So there's no way that I didn't know how to price it.
Yeah.
So I just didn't take it to the show. So when I got to his house, he had 15 or 16 totems all over his house. Like when you pulled up, I thought I had reached, I don't know where I was. Like I'm driving in Greensboro and all of a sudden you pull up to this house and it's like carved totems everywhere.
On
his porch.
in his yard.
On his porch. His door was a piece of folk art. Like it was just jip-jaw. It looked like a G's Ben quilt. His door did. I wish I'd have got his door.
Yeah.
So long story short, Well, let me tie this into Plumcrazies. So, Otto was tattooed from his face. Have we talked about Otto on this podcast yet? Okay, so this is like briefing you guys about Otto, but we'll get into some.
We're kind of going into the auto zone.
Otto.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, speak into the mic, man. This thing.
I'm speaking.
Boom, boom.
Okay.
I thought you were a radio guy, dude. I got to teach you how to talk into a microphone.
I know how to talk into a microphone.
Your microphones were better.
Maybe.
Speaking of Guilford College, didn't you rep? Wasn't you the DJ for Guilford College?
I was for over 10 years. I worked at WQFS. I certainly did. And today, it's going to be hot. And now for some music. And then I play the Monkees for 45 minutes and come back on. It wasn't much, but it was, I had fans. I had people listening to me.
Today, it's going to be hot. And now
for some music.
Today is going to be hot. Now for some music.
That's right. It was simple, straightforward. It worked. So what happened to Otto? Is he still alive?
No.
He's
not. I'll get to that. Okay. All right, so I walk in. So this was 2.5 years ago. I walk in. Otto's tattooed from his face to his toenails.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He's got a big devil tattooed on his back that he showed me pictures of. He said, I don't drink because when I drink, this is who I become. Ooh. And it was a wicked-looking devil.
Was he available for children's parties?
Dude. Well, he actually became a deacon of a church, so he turned his life around, but he was a wild man.
Yeah.
So we're talking, and I'm trying to connect with this guy. I'm basically picking right now. So I go there not to think, I've discovered an artist that I am going to invite into the auction circuit. I go there thinking, I'm going to buy some carved totems. These look pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So I get there, so I'm trying to connect with him. So he's talking about tattoos, and so working at Plumcrazy, there was this guy named Tik Tok.
Yeah.
And he was a wild son of a gun. Okay, he was, dude. I was pretty bad back then. Like I was not bad, but like a badass, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was playing college football. I was in the best shape of my life. I would not have messed with Tik Tok.
Right.
This dude, and this nothing to do with Tiki Taki that we put our stuff on. But his little, so he had a tattoo shop in Greensboro. Tik Tok, I love you. If you're still alive, don't think, just you probably remember me, man. Remember those good times we had?
You really think Tik Tok is sitting around?
I don't know, but I don't want him to see this and think anything of it, bro.
Tik Tok is watching TikTok? I don't think so.
All right, let's get off. Okay, so anyway, he knew Tik Tok.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yeah, well I used to bounce at Plumcrazies. Oh yeah, he knew Plumcrazies. I said, what about Snake? I remember Snake. He goes, oh yeah, Snake did this tattoo right here. Snake was a tattoo artist. I didn't really know that.
Wow.
I knew he sold guns, but I didn't know he was a tattoo artist, like illegally sold guns. So I go, man, and now I'm standing up.
You really hang out with a really cool class of folk.
Dude, I was going to buy tennis shoes, and we ended up becoming bouncers at a notorious biker bar, okay?
That's great.
All right. So
that's the feel-good story of the year.
So now, granted, I was 19. I'm 42 now.
Yeah.
All right. My kids are almost 19, by the way, 7 years. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to relate. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I knew Snake. Oh, man, I knew Snake. Yeah. And I said, whatever happened to Snake?
Salt of the earth.
He goes, oh, Snake got murdered.
Ooh.
He was an informant for the FBI.
Oh.
I go,
wow.
Bro, I didn't really know Snake that well, okay? I just bounced at this bar. I would see Snake like every Saturday. That's it.
Yeah.
Dude, Snake got murdered.
Then all of a sudden you started like reversing.
I backpedaled big time on that one.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't blame you.
Now, Bull, I knew Bull died. He got ran over by a transfer truck riding his motorcycle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So both of those guys checked out.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Well, it's like this. I only worked there for a year.
Yeah.
So I started working there in December. I worked there all the way until football started in August, and I didn't go back the next season because I was like, dude, me and John pretty much looked at each other and said, that was the stupidest thing we've ever done.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Working there.
Yeah.
We made it out alive. We got some really good stories. Let's stop. And we did.
Yeah. Good.
Just never went back.
Good.
But Otto knew these guys. So I just thought it was a trip, man. You know how everything happens for a reason? That's why I bounced at that bar for that moment to connect with this guy.
Right.
Even though I had to backpedal the connection. And I did not get into anything. When he told me Snake was an informant, which made sense because I did know that Snake sold Class 3 firearms very illegally, so he was probably working under protection. And
So, I'm getting this confused a little bit. When did you work for the FBI?
Yeah, I'm in hiding. That's why I sell folk art.
Oh, okay.
So the FBI funnels the art. That's where we get it from.
Well, I have a friend that he recently passed away this past year, whose dad worked for the FBI.
Yeah, that's where we got. Now, are we allowed to say this?
What?
Are we?
Oh, you mean the cross?
The thing that we sold. Are we allowed to say it? That's where the cross came from. He was undercover for the Klan.
Right. And he found this wooden cross that was used in the meetings, and you sold it through the auction house to what? College of Charleston?
Yeah, a museum bought it.
Yeah.
And see, a lot of people think that when I type these stories up, oh, he's just trying to make this piece sound better than it is. But that was a true story.
Yeah. It was it's wired in a series, and these little red light bulbs that were painted, and it had this really moth-eaten cord that you plugged it in.
Probably from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah,
something
no
like that.
telling. But I wanted to get rid of it because I was afraid he was going to electrocute me, and I didn't want that in my obituary.
Well, you know what was funny? I had people.
Mike Smith, folk art dealer, electrocuted by Ku Klux Klan cross on Thursday. Services this weekend. Now, I didn't want that. It just is not a good image.
What was funny was people called and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about using this at Christmas." I'm like, "No, sorry, no, it's gonna surpass whatever you're thinking." You know, because we started everything. We started everything off at $80. Okay.
Yeah.
So some people are like, "Yeah, I'll bid 80 on this," but what did it bring? Didn't bring all that much, but it was like 900 or 1,200.
Yeah.
Maybe 500.
It belongs probably in an African American museum somewhere.
And that's
the one in D.C. It's a horrifying artifact.
Right.
You know.
But the deal with that is history repeats itself if we're not aware of it.
That's true.
And I'm a historian at heart, and man, you can't let this stuff go undiscovered because it will.
Matt Ledbetter, bouncer historian. I like that. It's got a good ring to it.
Did I ever find it? So where are we at? Otto.
Yeah.
No Snake.
Snake's gone.
Snake's dead.
Yeah.
FBI informant. So we then move on to, okay, Otto, I like what you do here. I'm going to buy some. So I bought 3 or 4. I mean, he never got more than 200 or 300 a piece for him.
Right.
So, I spent probably $600-700. I got 3 or 4 totems. I bought his coat rack, which it's incredible. He made a 6 or so foot tall, and he put railroad spikes in it, carved coat rack. He was using it. I was like, dude, I really like that. I got it in picker mode. I was like, I really like that. He's like, well, I use it. I was like, can't you just use this? I mean, and then I bought it. It was really cool.
Yeah. Buy a coat rack on Amazon. Let me have this one.
And paint it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I told him. That's what I said.
Yeah.
No, are you trying to do that to me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what this thing, I mean, this is wild. Do you have a lot of his work, or do you just?
Well, this is what happened. So I bought 3 or 4.
Right.
And I set a deal up with him. I said, do you still carve these? Because he was only like 54. He wasn't old. I said, do you still carve these? And he was, I mean, he only had one leg, but he had a prosthetic, so he could walk around,
Right.
And I said, do you still carve? And he took me in his backyard. He had all these just pieces of wood. He had one he was working on. He said, yeah, I mean, I don't do as much as I did, but I can turn some of these out. I said, well, we have an auction 4 times a year that these will go great in. I said, I don't know what they'll bring the very first one, but once my buyers discover you, if we just keep selling them for you, they'll go up in value. So don't really, he was good with it. He was like, I don't care. I'm just glad that I can't do the shows anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. So we set a deal up. I had an auction coming. I'll come back and get 4. We'll sell them for you. Well, 2 weeks later, he calls me and he says, I don't want to see you anymore. Don't call me. And I'm like, what happened? I'll never forget. I was walking into the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, Otto, what's going on? He's like, this is over. I don't want to hear from you. And he hung up. So I'm like, well, that sucks. Dang. All right. The next morning at 7 a.m., he calls me. Yeah. I missed 2 or 3 calls from him, so I ended up calling him back shortly. And he's like, I got diagnosed with cancer. It's terminal, and I'm not going to live very long. He's like, I want you to come and take all the totems I have and sell them in one auction, give the money to my daughter.
Wow.
So I'm like, dang.
That's intense.
Yeah. I'm like, dang, Otto, this is crazy. Because, I was there. He didn't know he had cancer. I leave 2 weeks later, goes in for a check, and boom. So I go back. I take all the totems. He kept one because people have his work.
Right.
Maybe not in the folk art, but you got to think 25 walking sticks, 25 years. That's over 500 walking sticks.
Yeah.
Or around 500 walking sticks that are in, and he sold every one of them at the show. 5 totems a year for 25 years. People have these in their collection.
Right.
Maybe not the folk art community. But that's what we were going to push that. Like my folk art people are going to know who Otto is. So unfortunately, we did one auction. We sold like 16 of his pieces, and there's no more of them.
Yeah.
So, but
that can be a problem.
they're out there, but it's no more that I can get routinely. See,
there are a lot of artists that have a one-off, or they've done a minimal amount of work, and it's kind of, if there's going to be success with a specific artist, they have to have a body of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they may have 1 or 2 great masterpieces. I guess the only exception to that would be arguably the most famous piece of self-taught art in the world is James Hampton's Throne of God, which is in the Smithsonian, where he filled a room, 4 times bigger than our backdrop here, of aluminum foil covered furniture and icons and totems and all kinds of stuff. And he put it in his garage in the back of his house. And basically he was building a throne for when Jesus came back. This is where he would sit,
Wow.
And it was closed off, and it wasn't discovered until after he died.
Wow.
They opened these garage doors, and and that fabulous piece was the only one thing he made in his whole life, and that ended up in the Smithsonian. So it's the centerpiece of the Hemphill collection.
Wow.
In D.C. But the problem, as far as him or any other artist becoming successful, is they have to have a body of work.
Right.
Like Finster, he was a folk art machine. He had a studio where it was just putting stuff out, cutting out cutouts of Coke bottles and dinosaurs and howling wolves and Coke, all sorts of things. And then his assistants, relatives, a lot of times would paint the background, and then he, quote, would put the art on it,
right?
Put the details on it, and he sold thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces, and he is arguably the most famous folk artist now. Of course, he's been gone for a while, but his work has ended up on album covers for the Talking Heads and REM, and in major collections all over the planet. So it helps to have a big body of work. Whereas this guy, a lot of his stuff is just kind of lost to the sands of time.
Yeah. Well, it's in the hands of. I know the people who have it appreciate it. Yeah. But they don't. They might not be collectors of. They might not even call it folk art. Right. Because it looks like a tattoo. His pieces look. Just picture this as a leg. Yeah. And then, when people have their sleeves, picture it as an arm. This is a tattoo sleeve. Right. So it's enjoyed in the tattoo community, right, not so much in the folk art community, but it's a devastating piece of art. Yeah. It is a devastating piece of art. I believe Otto got his inspiration from the tattoos. Right. So the skulls.
It's like a totem pole in a way. You got individual faces on it. Right. And everything.
And so he carved these little skulls. They're about this big. He gave me one. Yeah. And he said, a lot of people don't want to spend $400 on a totem, but they'll spend $50 on So he made some little ones, and he was addicted to skulls, just like Benny was addicted to the taxi cabs.
Right.
So most of his work has skulls, and he used a wood. I don't know if it was cedar. I think it was cedar because he said the animals won't eat it. Insects won't eat it. So whatever wood insects won't eat is what he carved out of.
Yeah.
And he had this contraption that held his body at a certain angle that he could really lean into, or I think he showed me, he tried to show me the day I was there, but it like held him up to where he could get at weird angles instead of having to bend over and do it.
Yeah.
So he was pretty intense about it.
It looks like it.
And the paint is really good because I have a couple of these sitting outside. He had them sitting outside.
Is that a stain?
No, I really don't know. It's some kind of paint. But the paint is good paint. I mean, it's holding up because he had them outside. Look, there's one of his dog hairs.
Yeah.
Wow. No. Oh, I need to glue that back on.
Yeah.
He had a dog that's in this picture, in the pictures that I took.
Amazing.
Well, I think that was a good tie-in with Snake and Bull to folk art. I never thought that would ever happen.
It all sort of falls together, doesn't it?
That's only 3 questions, too. We've only gotten to 3 questions.
You ought to wrap this up.
You know, Otto's not in my rap song. Otto's not in my rap song.
You ought to wrap this up.
Otto, wrap this up.
It's a scream.
Mike.
Go ahead.
Mike.
What?
You're so funny.
Yeah.
You make me want to cuss, but I'm not going to do it.